I was trying to think, how should I present myself over the years? And the only way I kind of managed to figure it out is to have a chronological kind of like scale of how I came to be and how I made myself to be this person today. And it kind of felt odd because usually when we think of crafts, we think of making something tangible, like pottery or photography or woodworking. Or in other performance arts, we think about like taiko drumming or dance or theater. It's all conveyed, but I kind of want to talk about how I kind of became the person I am today, and it's a long journey. So it started from the very beginning. I'm from planet Earth, obviously. I'm a human, and I grew up in a very small country called the United Arab Emirates. I grew up to two sisters and a brother. I'm the youngest. I'm the baby by like 5 years from my brother, so I'm literally a child running amok, trying to make something out of myself in a household. My family is kind of not in despair, but they're not in one whole unit. My parents are divorced. There's a lot of kind of issues going around growing up, so I kind of got used to being like, oh, this is how life works. Like nothing works out. Great, that's cool. I grew up in a country that's kind of odd because I grew up in an era just around when everything started taking off. Everything started booming in a sense that you had the oil discovery happening like in the 1960s and 1970s and 80s. Everything went up until recently. So thanks for the photo. If you want to take photos, by the way, feel free to do so. I allow it. I consent to it. I grew up in a heavily Sunni Muslim country, so a lot of the culture pretty much goes around Islam, and that was the background, the only background I ever knew about growing up until pretty much 2010 or 11. So I never knew there are other religions, there are other things to believe in, and there are things to do. This is part of the eastern part of the country. It's something I grew up also witnessing, is scarcity. Kind of grew up knowing that there's not much to have around. My family, I should have mentioned earlier, we're kind of, my mother hates saying that, but I'll say it out loud. We're in the poorer end of the scale. We're not medium. We're pretty tough, down income-wise. So I never really expected much to get throughout, from my parents. Like they're not going to have it, so I'm not going to even bother asking it. We grew up in an environment full of scarcity. It's just plain nothing. By the way, that's a date farm in the back. I was standing on top of a dam, looking over. So the backside is where the water is, and this is where the water usually should be. But it's empty, pretty much for like 9 months of the year. And then you have a monsoon, and this is why the dam was built, just to collect the drops of water. There's also barely any kind of life out there. It's probably someone's dog that ran away 3 generations ago, and now we have wild dogs in the Emirates because we generally don't really have much life. So basically, I grew up in not a blank environment, but an environment that's very lacking in the sense that I have to find something, or either depend on someone, or kind of make something out of myself. And for a while, I was depending on my family, and kind of, in a way, which I was going to start is kind of finding a hole to cower in and kind of be safe in. So I kind of wanted to share you the journey of all the crafts and arts I've been kind of going through, but that would take about like maybe 3 hours or so. So I was like, let's just simplify it. Let's just have 4 main categories. I wanted to talk about my pottery, my photography, some of the woodworking, and some of my drumming skills, my taiko skills. And some of my taiko people are here, so. So about this time I wanted to present it is the time I started really actively looking to create something. I was around I was around 13, 14 years old. So I was, a growing teen trying to make something out of myself. I don't have a personality at that point. I'm just like any other kid in high school. I was thinking, I was looking back at these few weeks ago and thinking, wow, I was really trying to make anything. I was trying to convey ideas. And so I wanted to share with you, let me take this ring off because it's clinking too much and kind of turning away. It's not going on, so I'll keep it on. So I want to start with my digital art that I made a while ago, a generation, I don't know what to call this segment of my life. And none of this stuff really, I don't know how I made it. I think back and how did I do this? This makes no sense. None of this stuff has a coherent sense of making. It's just make something and there it is. It was almost like I was trying to convey an idea, but I had no idea how to convey it even in the first place. I was just almost like trying to doodle on a page, and none of the doodling even worked out. This is my favorite. It's how did I even do this? I look at this back 13 years later thinking, what is this thing? I don't even know. It's kind of cool though. So it's something I kind of learned about myself. These hidden, I should emphasize that I use Photoshop to make these, but I have no idea how to do it. It's just I got my hands in the program and let's do something. So I wanted to share this part also because I also really had a kick for making physical things, even though drawing stuff on a screen kind of satisfied this creation thing. It never felt guided. I was just messing around. So I put my hand in what they call paper craft, which is just print a model out and you cut it up and you glue it together and voila, you have a model made by hand. And it felt so satisfying back then to create something physical. I wasn't just randomly smearing digital ink and expecting something to happen. I was actually putting forth a creation of some sort. I felt like I was making something, and it made me happy. So the other thing I wanted to show was I managed to borrow my sister's camera and start taking photos around. So I kind of looked back at this and realized that a lot of my photography around here, and I'll show you later, it didn't just come to be, I didn't magically get skills in taking photos. It came with years of trying things out, and it's kind of ironic that I took a lot of floral photos, and a lot of the works I do now has flowers and roses, or something like this, which is magnolia. I'll talk about this later, but it's I look back at that, I'm I still have the same interest, which is, it's kind of neat. I kind of ignored that part of my life, and now I look back at it and it's wow, I actually had kind of a connection. I still have this connection to myself. By the way, does anyone know what this is?
Lantana.
Lantana?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks. And I want to plant this stuff, so my mother always planted that stuff. So I looked around. I remember, all of these photos, by the way, were just shot around the house I grew up. So I never ventured outside of the house. My mother was very overprotective, so that was one of the reasons why I needed to find things to do. I just wanted to create something. So, and this kind of leads up to the next thing, which my parents noticed that I had a huge liking for astronomy, so they decided to get this thing for one of my 2008, which is my 15th, 16th birthday. I kind of kept hinting at them oh, telescopes are really cool. Ooh, I wonder what we could see out there. Wow, so many cool things. And eventually, I got my hand on it's basically a USB camera that you just put on as a lens, and you could take photos. And I look at these photos, and it's very reminiscent of the good old times, but something that I'm actually proud of. I took the time to learn how to stitch these photos, and I've took so many photos of the moon. I just wanted to pick out 3 or 4, and I kind of wanted to show you because I'm really, as proud as I am, I still see the flaws of myself and where I could improve. You notice I showed you something, which is, that was the process I did. I basically took so many small shots of the moon and stitched them together, which was something that if I never played around with making these weird digital photos, I would have never like realized, oh, this is high contrast, this is low contrast, I should like balance them out. So really a lot of the skills come from other skills, which is kind of what I'm trying to find at the end of the talk. So let's talk about what I got over here. What happened? How am I having long hair and dreads and I'm doing all of this stuff? Basically, I took a class at NC State. I started NC State in 2012 on nuclear engineering, and we took engineering 101, and we were supposed to build an object to solve a problem. And I remember like thinking back then, it's like, we can't build a bridge, you should just do something simple. So we decided to build a toy box, and we used the wood chap over here. And basically the toy box, you would put in the blocks and the lights would light up. Genius. So, also by the way, this is insanely dangerous. If you have a metal fork and a child pokes it, there's like a large battery in there, so it's engineering, you know, created something, solved a problem. So, but that was basically how I got to know this place. I just wandered in. I remember walking out and looking to the right and seeing, oh, there's a place you can make pottery. That's kind of cool. So I took a class in the summer of 2012, and basically I just made stuff. And I remember, the photos are not great by the way, just letting you know. I made all of these wonky looking bowls and cups, and I remember thinking, this is the most exciting thing I'm doing in my life, making mud into something functional. That's so cool. I could use my hands to create something. So, and I kind of wanted to include some photos because I realized, even though I had a background that I didn't really like super kind of was indulged in, I wasn't the best Muslim, I wasn't the best native Emirati in the Emirates. I just had it, like it's just part of my culture, it's part of my heritage. But I noticed that I was using it part of my motifs, and some of the pottery early on, it's something that in a way gave me a sense of identity, as in like, hey, I could do pottery, so why not mix this, the thing I came from, with that, the thing I'm doing right now. So later on, I continued here, and the same trend kept showing up. A lot of the woodworking stuff I've done, a lot of the cutouts are 8-pointed stars, which is a common Islamic motif, tile motif that shows up a lot. But also woodworking wasn't my main thing, because there's a famous saying, you measure twice and cut once. I've never done that, so everything goes fast. I'm like, great, I'm really not good at it. So eventually I realized I could use, I could make tools, and one of the things I like is using bamboo to make pottery tools, and also that kind of made me realize I don't have to do one thing to create one thing. I don't have to do pottery to make more pottery. I could make pottery to create stuff or jigs. Jigs for woodworking, or wood for pottery. So I made these tools because I could make pottery from these tools. It's almost like a self-fulfilling cycle. The more I make woodworking and make tools, the more I can make pottery. And it just gave me this sense of like, I am unstoppable. I could make so many things out of pottery now. And I mean, of course, there were limits. I realized later in the years. I've really had a fascination for making tools in general. You could always make something to make something else better. I remember going around the flea market and just buying old axes and thinking, like, how can I make this a thing that I could use? So that's something I kind of got mostly from woodworking. Here's a fun video I found that Jennifer Siegel, the Play City manager, took when I was taking a class here. And hang on, I need to have some sound. Let's see, volume is on. Wow, it's turned off. Oh no, technical difficulties. I need to keep talking to make sure this talk is talking. Okay. You'll see a clip of me with really short hair. Really short hair. I'm gonna pause it, so So that was me, a year in pottery, from 2012 to 2013, making pots. And I remember taking a wheel class called wheel therapy because I really wanted to get better at making pottery. I just had this like goal and desire to get better at it. So, and that's me. That is literally me. When I first started coming to the craft center, I had such a short hair, and I was like, oh, I'm nervous, it's the camera. I've never had photos taken of me. So, like, I was so shy, which is why I was laughing. I was like, oh no, she's taking a video, and she's looking at me, what am I supposed to do? So, eventually the video ends with me, like, barely even, like, opening a cylinder. It took me, I watched the entire video, and it's 5 minutes long, from start to finish, and half of it, or like, from minute 0 to minute 4, I'm just like, this is sort of working. I'm doing the same thing, but I have no idea what I'm doing. And it's kind of fun, just seeing myself stumbling around. So, I'm gonna have a short, kind of like, not actually break, but like a short disconnect from making to my, what I call heritage. And I kind of came, I mean, you're open to debate me right now. I wanted to talk about heritage, and I think about heritage as a communal craft these days. I could be wrong. You are allowed to debate me right now, so feel free. But heritage for me was, it was something about kind of like having the correct dress code, creating the correct things, and kind of like abiding by this long history that there are people, or that you are born into from these people, like a line of history you're born in. But the thing is, a lot of this stuff in the Emirates was just barely like kept around. Most of the historical things are just forts and royalty, kind of like housing and all of that stuff. And you had this extreme push from kind of like technological and economical advancement that it kind of did not want that. And a lot of the stuff that is called like cultural heritage was just left to decay. This is one of the many like old historical neighborhoods in one of the islands, not island, but like peninsulas in the Emirates, and it's just a decrepit state. And people outrage about heritage, but this stuff happens. It's like there's an insane push for buildings and whatnot, and all that kind of stuff. Technology, economy, buildings, money, all that stuff. And it kind of leaves a smaller pool of people even caring about what we call heritage at this point. And I remember thinking, like, if there's no one to care about your heritage, if people complain about it, but no one really actually invests in it, what is there left to actually carry on and create more of? Why am I pursuing why am I pursuing an identity that is, in a sense, dying and going to fade out? I mean, I could say that I'm trying to keep it alive, but at the same time, if there's no community for this communal craft, what is even the point of trying to keep it alive? So that was the struggle I was kind of hitting with my mid-college years and thinking about, should I really push for a lot of heritage-related crafts, like basket weaving, or people complain about like, oh, I don't like basket weaving, but some of that stuff is core of a culture, and if no one does it, then it doesn't happen. And I kind of put myself into it thinking, well, here I am living in the US, and I don't really have like, I don't conform to anything yet. I'm still like finding grounds for myself. And I keep thinking about, this is my really good friend, Jennifer Seacon. She's right in the back. So if you want to say hi to her later. We took these photos actually with Katie Walls, who was also taking video, and that was a fun class. But that was during the time I was trying to like figure out, like, where's my craft going? I'm making too many things. And I mean, I'm seriously making too many things. There's too many pots in my apartment. There are so many pots I can't even have a seat. So I remember approaching Joelle Westermore, and she's the assistant director, and telling her, hey, I really like my heritage. Like, oh, it's so cool. There's these cool chips, and I kind of want to make something out of it. These chips are a typical transport and fishing ships. The first one, which is called Batil, is more of a transport from like long distance, usually from the Emirates to India. And the other one is called the Dhow, which is basically diving ships. So you would go short distance dive and get a lot of repair. So I decided to make something kind of like meaningful to my culture, something that I could say, hey, like this is where I'm from. Ask me more about it. I know this is a fishing ship or this is a transport ship, and I thought of expressing it as a way of making it. But I didn't really realize that as cool as it is, I'm not sure what was the end goal. Like, was I there to impress a heritage that I'm not like connected with anymore? Is it cool? I mean, it's cool looking and all that stuff, but what's the end goal of it? Eventually, I did finish it and kind of made a nest, and it is a teapot, barely functions. So I tried, but eventually I kind of would. So if that was a point in my life. If I was approaching heritage, I was probably this close to like, not assimilating, but becoming more in tune with where I'm from and my culture. I should emphasize on that. But I decided to play with other things. I decided to play with more calligraphy, and for the longest time I wanted to study abroad in Japan, but my mother insisted not to, so I came to the US to study nuclear engineering, and I still had this longing, and I still wanted to make more stuff relating to my interest. And that, I believe that says Bushido. It means it's related to Kendo, and it's been a while. But it's basically one of the concepts in Kendo. I'm getting really weird looks from Yoko, so I'm gonna pretend that I actually don't know what I wrote. So in the meantime, I kept making more and more tools. I thought it was fun to create more tools to create for the sake of. I remember making the hammer and thinking, I'm not really sure what I'm going to use it for, but I have a hammer. So, and that was part of the problem as well, is that I'm making more things and I'm not really realizing where I'm from. And welcome pinhole photography. When I took the pinhole challenge in 2014, I was a terrible photographer, but there was a sense of me that I loved photography. It was such an amazing way to capture moments and people and times and memories on these pieces of paper that you put in a piece of box that you created by yourself. There's a photo of me, by the way. See, I'm right over there. I'm standing. I'm like, I'm gonna look so great in this photo. No, I'm not. Because that was my first photo I ever tried to do as self-portrait. This is of the brickyard, but basically I really enjoyed a sense of saving memories. And of course, everyone took a photo of Tally when it was out. Perhaps this was one of the best times in my craft family. This was at the end of 2014, and I remember like all of these people right here kind of made an impact on my identity. I realized there's a community of makers, and I am hitting a point that I'm kind of finding a place where I'm comfortable expressing things that I'm not even thinking about. It's just being appreciated for what the stuff I make. So I also wanted to mention Kendo really quick, because for a long time, Kendo started kind of in the background. I just wanted to take a martial arts. I was kind of a lazy kid, and I was thinking, let's do something active, because it's good to do that. And I took Kendo, and these are film photos, by the way, which of the expired film, and it's kind of crazy how the colors turned out. So I took Kendo in a way to be like, all right, like I need to, like I feel like crafts are helping me express some ideas. I need to validate these ideas through other mediums, and I thought of doing Kendo. And this is a blind photo. Actually, okay, well, here's a photo of Kendo and my Kendo family. This was in 2016, but it was also a film photo, but also I realized not just the craft, it kind of skipped over some other photos, which were photos of me doing Kendo. I'm like, wow, hey friends, I'm doing Kendo, great. Anyway, so this photo, in a sense, does the same thing as the other photo I showed you earlier with my craft family. It kind of showed me a community. This community showed me a way to both enrich myself and work on myself, work on a lot of qualities that I kind of liked. I mean, it's funny that I say that, but I lacked patience. Like I was the guy who always got pissed really fast, and now I look back at this photo and thinking, like, I went through this rigorous training with all these wonderful family, brothers and sisters, and I came out, we did do well in tournaments, and it was just a wonderful sense of a community. I remember thinking, what can I do better? So 2014, 15, 16 were probably one of my favorite times being around here. And that is also Jennifer Ziegler. And this is my other friend, Fahad Tran, who's living in LA right now, who we made a lot of. He kind of pushed me to do more meaningful pottery. It didn't matter what it was from or what it meant, but he made me like plan things out. And I remember making a starlight for the House of Horrors. So it was a fun thing to make. I remember thinking, it's a mix of like intentional creation, and it's a mix of not just that, like not just creating, not just planning, but also pouring what you like. And of course, it's Star Wars, sci-fi, fun thing. So I kind of poured that in and realized, like, I created something that I still hang on my wall till this day. And look at it and think, that was such a fun time. I had so much fun creating this piece. So you might be wondering what this thing is. I took a class about giant sculptures again. I'm mentioning a lot of things about pottery because pottery kind of like started my entire like creation, or not creation, my entire crafts journey. So I weigh a lot on crafts, and basically we made a giant pagoda sculpture, and well, I mean, because everyone else did other things. I'm like, I'll just make a large thing. Why? I don't really know. I just really like the idea of like a East Asian sculpture with roofs and whatnot. The bottom didn't really survive as well. It was too thick, but I made another one, and I'm gonna make more. I'll probably make like 4 or 5 of them until I'm happy. I'm getting really angry looks from Jennifer because these are really these are one of the like largest things I've ever made at this point in my life. They're about I should have brought this. They're about from the table to here. They're about 3 feet tall, roughly. They might be a little bit shorter when they shrink, but that was one of the biggest things that I made. So woodworking is still there in the background. I'm still doing, trying different things out, trying wood turning and whatnot. And I kind of wanted to bring that up, but I was doing things in the background. I was exploring different mediums and trying to find a kind of like a resting ground of like where to like lift up another pottery-like skill of my life. So kind of like fabric working was not really fabric working, but painting on fabrics was something I really liked. This, by the way, is an equation that tells you about the number of neutrons within a reactor at any given time. This is the kind of stuff I was studying. It's kind of cool. Like I'm looking at this and I'm like, wow, this is like all the directions, and this is the all of the time, or all. I'm boring you down. All right. So one of the things I also realized is that you could make tools to do other things and other crafts. I could make pottery tools and woodworking. It dawned on me, if I could make a camera out of wood and have it fully functioning with a film folder in the inside, which is right here. For the Facebook people, it's right here. That would mean I could take photos anywhere. And in a sense, like I could reload the camera and shoot even more. And I did, I made it. And I remember, this is a photo of me. It's like 30% better from the other photo, because you still can't see my face. And that's also a photo of my friend Katie right there in front of Tali. And I remember seeing that photo. As bad as it looks right now, I remember thinking, I made something that works, and I'm really happy with making something from something else to create the end goal in a better way. So during that year, 2016, I decided to take things just a little bit further and decided to go to Aramon, the School of Crafts in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, to take a wood firing workshop because I really liked the idea of wood firing. And they had a anagamakan, which is a large, it's built into the ground and goes up eventually with a chimney. And I remember living with a bunch of strangers for 2 weeks and thinking, like, we all share the same communal idea, which is to create things. Some people were taking it to mass-produce mugs. Some people were their first time doing pottery. I remember meeting a lady and she's like, yeah, I've never done pottery, but this is cool. I'm like, wow, that's a commitment. So, and I remember thinking, that's probably the defining time where the person you see right now kind of became to be in other people's eyes. This is a drawing of me from someone. One of my friends, Candace, she basically looked at me and kept drawing on a piece of paper without looking on it, and then it's kind of funny because that is still the general shape that I still have. Sure, I have a beard and whatnot, but I kind of created that to myself by taking haircuts and liking cheap haircuts. So I realized at some point that it doesn't matter how I look. It doesn't matter what I look like. If I look like a man just coming out from a cave, if I look like Jesus, if I look like some other weird, like Rastafarian guy who did music. So I kind of kept pushing myself further at that point, realizing that the more I try random things and weird things and things I'm not comfortable with, the more I'm gonna, in a sense, see in myself. It's almost like what I said earlier, a self-fulfilling prophecy that the more you create, the more you get satisfied and the more you want to make. It's the same thing that was happening to my crafts. The more I made, the more I realized who I am in a sense. So that was the photo of the kiln room. The camera tilted a little bit, which caused this ghostly thing. And of course I kept going around Raleigh and thinking I could take more and more photos. I could essentially document the areas that I really kind of, well, not fell in love, but really feel happy to call home in a sense. And so I decided to go further and went to Athens, Georgia to take some more photos, and then it hit me. I could peace out and go all the way to the West Coast and start taking photos over. So that was around 2015, and I talked about this during the talk I had earlier this year. I really wanted to see the other side of the US. It always felt like I knew all of this stuff right here, but I had no idea how all of this worked, or looked like. So I just pushed myself and started driving by myself with some food and my camera, because hey, that's important. And I went to all of these different cities, first time. Second time, I'll talk about later, because I'll actually have photos on there. And I went to places that I really, I read about, and I remember talking with one friend, and I'm like, where should I go? And he said, you should try this and this and this. I'm like, great, I'll be there, see you around. And I did, and I took photos, kind of documenting all of these places and thinking, there is a part of me that really enjoys the environment. It's like, wow, I didn't even realize that. It's a weird realization to see, this is the kind of photography I've been doing, and I've never thought about, why am I taking photos of rocks? And why am I taking, photos of, this is in Golden Gate Park, San Francisco. So why am I taking, photos of places I've thought about? And it's a very interesting mirror to myself. My camera was literally a mirror to what I wanted to see or wanted to do. And this is Oregon Coast, and it's probably the place I want to retire at if I ever have a chance. It's one of the most beautiful places, and that's one of the older lighthouses, Hasita Island Lighthouse. And so 2016 starts with a bang, literally, because that's when I joined Taiko. And I remember I was going cross country because I was doing kendo. I was stopping at different schools and saying, hi, can I practice with you? And they're like, sure. And eventually I hit a school in Seattle, and they had a drum, and they played what they called oroshi, which is like kind of a startup-y, like dun, 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 to start the practice. I remember thinking, wow, that's cool. I want to try that. So in a way, if I've never done taiko, if I've never done kendo, I would have never done taiko. It's almost like something that fell into another, domino effect. And yes, that's me. I had a really weird posture. I looked back to it, I'm like, wow, I look really bad, and no one told me about it. But that's okay, we start somewhere. So I remember a lot of people from here, they came and they basically were happy when I'm trying this thing out. I remember thinking like, that's kind of cool, you know? I'm kind of get excited, you know? So I kept doing more taiko because part of me, I wanted to get better because I looked really bad the first like 5 performances. I look at photos of myself and think, no. So that's one thing, one reason I wanted to do more taiko, mixing up taiko and kendo. The second reason is, it felt satisfying to give a fun rhythm to a group of people that don't know how it sounds like. It felt like a joyful thing to share. And for the third thing is, there was another community to be embraced within. The community that wants to share drumming. That's a recent photo of all of us. And I don't know who this guy is, but he looks kind of weird. So again, I found like there are communities within well, recently, kind of changing topic for a split second. There's a book I've been reading or listening to called Sapiens, The History of Humankind. And one of the things the author talks about is the idea of imagined communities. And really recently I finished the book, and the book was talking about imagined communities, and I was thinking, that is the thing I've never experienced when I was growing up. And now I found something that I could be doing and sharing with others. This is a community. Either it's pottery, drumming, kendo, photography. I've found a sense of home, in a sense, with all these different people and with all these different friends. And I found a sense to express myself. So eventually it hit a point that I knew about the other group called Earth Spirit Taiko. They're based in Asheville. And one of their leader, or previous leader, Jim Sink, he makes all the drums. All of these drums you see over here, he made them. It's kind of amazing within the span of 10 years or so, 14 years actually. So I decided to get my hands on a drum. I've known woodworking, so I thought, what hard could this be? I've done things that I've never had done before. So, oh yeah, I need to do this. This is a fun video because this is something you're definitely not supposed to do, but it's so much fun to do. So I was like, hey, let's try this out. Oops. Okay, so for some reason, audio keeps shutting down. I guess it's one way to save energy. Turn on, please. Yes, thank you. Audio. What is the level? 10. Okay, might be loud. Okay. That's late 2017, early 2018. So. You're not? Oh, so. I was so happy because this sounded so cool. And the problem is, you're not supposed to do this because you have to load every single piece later. And I did that because it was fun. So that gave us oh yeah, I tried my best. So yeah, I'll keep going. So literally I made a mess basically. Thank God I labeled every single one of these pieces. Otherwise it would have been let's break a piece of pottery and then glue it back together, having no idea what I broke. That was basically it. But thankfully we made a jig, and we spent literally 30 minutes trying to put this imagining barrel and running around and gluing it, and gluing is oh no, this is falling apart. Oh, try this part. Oh, let's try this. So eventually, we managed to glue it. And that was when work kind of started to take a faster rate. So we glued it together. Eventually, we cut it. And all of this stuff I was doing, it wasn't foreign to me. Like using a saw blade or kind of using a bandsaw to cut around the ring and put it in. And you would do that to prevent the skin from making your drum kind of shrink up. So, and sanding was the longest thing I've done, and that was probably my most favorite thing because it's a mindless function you would be doing. It's probably anyone could do sanding, but the fact I was just getting this drum, slowly sanding it over and over and over, it was a relaxing thing to do, to appreciate how much time goes into a single drum. So eventually, after about like 20 days of like going like every once or twice a week to Ashborough and getting the sander and sanding, and then Jim was like, all right, I'll go feed the dogs. I'm like, all right, see you around, and just sanding and sanding. I got it done, and it felt like at that point, something was happening. Something was finally accumulating. All of this thought, all of this planning, finally accumulating to what is, I wish I had like a ribbon or like a blanket so I could like pull it out. I was like, wow, look at this. But before that, there was the skin stretching, which we used cow rawhide from Minnesota. There is a tanner up north who provides drum skins. He cuts them in shape and ships them anywhere. Took a while for the guy to get the skin. For some reason, he was understaffed. But the point is, we got the skin on, we pulled it up, making sure the metal rods are pulling down on the skin. And eventually we put on the tacks, and there it is. The imaginary blanket is off. Wow. So it was something that I've learned, that no matter how daunting something is, it's always a very plausible thing. There's nothing that's, I'm gonna sound cheesy and say, there's nothing impossible, this sky's the limit, but in a way, these things really ring true. If you really believe in something and have passion in it, it really pushes you to create it. I kind of want to now go to what's happening right now and why am I doing things. There was a show with a friend, Dara Coulter, and she did what's called Song of the something about the Nile. So it was basically a mural, and I remember thinking, wouldn't it be cool if we wrote a poem out in Arabic? And she's like, yeah, that'd be cool. So we did, and the mural was from the very edge of that wall all the way to this wall. I think it was about 9 panels, and each panel was about 5 feet or wide?
It's 36 feet long, 4 by 8 panels, 9 of them.
36 feet tall. Long. Oh, tall. 9 feet tall.
8 feet tall.
8 foot tall. I can't remember numbers, apparently. It was big. This is not showing apart, unfortunately. I think that was a photo of, well, the previous one was a photo of me doing drawing on a piece of fabric, which I showed earlier. Like I did the mathematic things. I was starting to take more different symbols. I started pushing myself into trying dyes, and I've made these. A friend of mine in Black Mountain, he works on a farm, or like a camp farm, and he grew. I basically was like, hey, these sunflower seeds, the red ones, could make red dye. He's like, cool, we'll grow them, and we did. And we also had amaranth. I'm hoping the next photo shows, because this would make no sense. Yes, it does. So this is the effect of the red sunflower, and that was the effect of the amaranth, which is apparently considered a weed for some reason, but it has really beautiful pink. And this is rose. This is rose. This is amaranth. Science. So I wanted to do that because I still haven't started this yet, but I have a project that involves using natural dyes in photography, dyeing your own photos with natural ingredients. So that is something I kind of wanted to push. And it kind of fits in, like all of my photos are about, rocks and water and all that stuff. And it's only natural that my mediums I want to push for are more natural related. More of my pottery changed toward a very distinct style. I started making spheres because there was this idea of, let's just make things simple, round, and try to go for perfection. And perfection is almost impossible with spheres. So it was a fun challenge, and it still is. And you could pick any of these up at some point. You could even come down, like, kick them off, and like, wow, that rolled off great. Do whatever you please. So, dang it, one of these photos here. I think, okay, so this was a photo of me taking photos of my pottery. So I decided to kind of take effort to use my photography skill to photograph my pottery. And I hope the next photo shows. Yes, it does. So I took this sense of pride of both of my photography and pottery by doing my own photography. It's not that, I mean, sure, you could call me a show-off. I mean, that's kind of what it begs to be said, but at the same time, it really made me proud that I'm able to present my own stuff, kind of stand on my own feet, take my own photos and be like, this is what I created. It gave me a sense of confidence, and I always like that. A lot of you know me, I'm always like, oh, it's all right. No, I'm good. I'm shy. I always have that sense. I'm not confident, and it's still something I work on. And recently, speaking of 2018, I had the pleasure of teaching classes here, and all of these photos are of my students. They made cameras, pinhole cameras, within a weekend, and they just went off shooting the entire Saturday and Sunday. And I look back and think, there is such an amazing way or joy of sharing things with others, either through creating objects or making things, or playing a sound for people. And I also happened to go to Black Mountain for a workshop in 2018. One of my friends, Bailey and I, she taught a indigo dyeing workshop, and the structure of the workshops was very fluid, so if you wanted to teach a workshop, you could do it. And basically I was like, hey, let's make drums. So we made Thai drums, and we jammed out. So by the end of 2018, I decided to go cross country again, because why not? I'm not trying to get myself killed, but I think I am, because I'm trying to go to places that are really frozen over during the winter. So I decided to turn my car into a dark room and take photography around wherever I managed to camp. So I went, you saw the map. So I skipped all of this because I was hoping to see a friend in Santa Fe, but she flew out by the time I was there. She was like, oh. I was like, oh well, I guess I will not see you then. So I continued and took some stops along the way, and all of these, except this one, was the Bay Area, and I saw one of my friends who's actually sitting right here. So all of these places, except for this one, and this one, because this is one I'm looking at, were just out in the middle of nowhere. I just pushed myself to go somewhere and see it in my own eyes, and I managed to see something that I've been wanting to see. I should have put a photo of it, but I managed to see something that I wanted to see. Oh great, none of the photos are going to turn out. So I managed to see Crater Lake, Wizard Island, and that is something I remember seeing on a science textbook during 2004, 2005, like 5th grade. I remember thinking on the textbook, this is such a cool place. And I made a mental note ever since then to go there. And I did go there, and then, well, the photos I'm going to show. So, this shows, great. So, imagine there's a pinhole photo of it. So, unfortunately, I think, so just to let you know, this is about like 500 megabyte presentation. So at this point, my computer is dying to show any photos, which is why this is blank. So, unfortunately, I'll probably, if you want to see them, let me know, I'll show you after. Wow, I'm doing great on time. And I'll show the photos. So a lot of the places I saw were places I've been dying to see. Not literally, but you know. So Joshua Tree and Devil's Tower and even Wizard Island were just one of the most beautiful places I wanted to see, and I finally had the courage to say, all right, drive in your car, sleep in your car, do whatever it takes to go there, and try to take photos. And it worked, and I remember thinking, I did something that I'm happy with myself. I don't have to listen to someone that would tell me, do this and this and this to get this result. I had my own agency, finally, kind of forming. So now this is more of like what's happening right now. It's kind of, everything is becoming a commentary of the things I want to see more. These are radiographs, and they're basically shadow prints of, you put a piece of flower or whatever on a darkroom photography paper, and I basically squish it with a piece of acrylic. And this is about this size. So it's kind of beautiful that you could enlarge a small piece. Well, some people would call it a weed, like because it's growing uncontrollably. But there's a really beautiful thing about small things. That's grass. I can't remember this flower's name. Carnation. Thank you. So I kind of grew to like where I'm around. Like, there are a lot of things to see. There are so many small details, and I'm trying to bring that out. This is called luminography, and it's basically you press the same idea as radiograph, like the same idea. Like you press the flowers onto a piece of paper and shine some focused light. You would shine unfocused heavy light, and this was using pretty much a sun lamp. And you push paper to a point that it brings out this depth within flowers, and I'm attracted to it because there's a lot of detail that you wouldn't see otherwise. It's almost like you're seeing something in infrared vision. You would see more by seeing less, in a sense. And eventually I decided, this is like probably within the past few months, I decided like, I could finally put my photography on my pottery by doing screen printing. And it blew my mind. Because I could actually combine mediums. I could take like photos of flowers of really small size magnitude, and instead of pressing them on a pot, I could print them out in a sense and have a representation of what we think of like something that's hidden. And more recently, one of my friends from Triangle Taco is gonna build 5 more drums. So I thought, I'll help you out. I don't know how we're gonna do it, but we're gonna do something. So, I kind of wanted to bring back to what the talk is about. I mean, I shared to you my journey in the crafts world, and I wanted to say, what's the point? Why did I decide? I mean, you could guess, but I'm trying to be very nice to the Facebook viewers because they don't know what's going on probably. Because I don't know if people could hear me. I should have actually sound checked for Facebook. Too bad. Should have been here. So it had a point. I'm doing too many things, and what are all of these things supposed to mean? And I realized they're not supposed to be create something, to sell something and have something or show something. Literally all of these things, all of like my pottery, my photography, kind of taught me different ideals in a sense. My pottery and photography taught me, and Kendo taught me to like have patience. Something is not gonna spring out of the ground, here's my pot, or the sun is not gonna like shift its way. It's like, here's the perfect photo, and I'm not gonna be like the best kendo practitioner within a day or two. It just comes with time. My photography especially kind of helped me figure out, I mean, it's kind of obvious, but not just see things in a different way, but there is a lot of perspective. It's almost like a sense of empathy when you take a photo. You're trying to frame an idea, as in, you have to be in someone's shoes to take a photo. You're not just taking a random photo of someone on the street and running away with it. You're trying to convey an idea. Like, this person on the street who's sitting on a bench, what are they? Are they homeless? Are they just sitting? Are they playing music? It really brought a sense of perspective. Genius. The woodworking skills, my calligraphy skills, and kind of like fabric working skills really helped me think things first. I'm not just jumping straight ahead into something and being like, hey, this will work out. Oh, that's probably why a lot of my pottery just looked garbage. I mean, everything I made within like 2012 was literally stuff I look back and I'm like, who's gonna use this? Probably no one, but I keep it to myself as a reminder. There's always a sense of like, having a sense of direction, and it's kind of like cliche, like when you write something, you're going to a direction, the story goes to a direction. Similes and metaphors. Drumming really was something that I enjoyed the most, and I give it kind of, it's my like pride that I could share joy with people. I could literally join a group that had no idea how they play drums, and I had no idea how to play drums, and I joined these wonderful like random strangers, and it's like, let's play music, and we show it later to people. And it was this like magnificent thing. I could drum, and people could watch and enjoy it. It's almost like free gifts and happiness. It's something I enjoyed. But I mean, in reality, someone could have gone through the same journey as I've done, and it could have been as more different and complicated, and everyone, in a way, would go through a similar sense of experiences, but it's not going to be the exact same thing. I mean, for instance, someone could make pottery to give it as gifts, or someone could do kendo to kind of like gift themselves with strength and then later on help someone. It's basically, if I could, I would have like a web of almost every single craft, and then or a circle, and then another circle, and all of these kind of like crafts would merge into morals and ideas that we kind of foster within ourselves and bring forth through the making. So I kind of realized that at some point that I'm not really making, like, it's a very meta talk in a way, that I know it says make it here, but what am I making? I'm making something out of myself. I'm not here to make like a bunch of bucks and like, you know, make more money, but I'm here to make myself a better person, whether it's through patience in making pottery, or through framing something and looking through someone's perspective, or even giving it to someone. So I really think that, I mean, where's the photo? Oh no, where's the photo? Where's the photo? Where's the photo? There's no photo, dang it. All right, there was a photo of me, of a clay model. Someone in one of my, I took a class about outsider art, but the point is, she made a clay figurine of myself. And it was this guy who was literally sitting like that. The most chilled kind of looking person. I was looking at the thing and thinking, am I chill? I'm like, I don't really recall myself giving out like a chill vibe. Like I'm always excited. Let's do things. Let's run around and do things. Wow, look at this photo and look at this thing. Wow, me. So I kind of realized at some point in my life, like it doesn't matter how much. Like showing off is really like one of the worst things you could try doing, because someone is going to see you in a different way. So it doesn't even matter at this point. Like whatever I try to show, I think what I really want to show is how to guide someone in teaching. I mean, that's something I kind of saw, and I even now teach the hand building class, and I want to show my students that you don't have to make the perfect thing right away. Learn yourself. There is a saying at the Temple of Apollo that says, know thyself. And I think that's probably the best thing crafts ever gifted us, is through the act of making, we know ourselves more. And it kind of brings a sense of, oh, there it is. That's me. That's play me. Animation kind of throwing me off. Yeah, like I see that. I'm like, wow, I look like a Rastafarian. So, yeah, I think the act of creating and making and giving is a way for us to make ourselves better people. So. say, any questions?
Can you play a drum for us?
Any other questions before we start playing the drums? Any confusions? Everyone's looking at me, it's like, why are you not playing the drum? I guess you'll play a drum. Grab some food. Yes?
I want to find out how you get your photography on the clay, but I think that's probably more of a one-on-one with
Yeah.
explain to the whole group.
We could go through it quick. It's basically like I scanned the photos and I got the photos on the screen and eventually you slip to print.
You do your own developing?
Yes.
Okay.
So, which is like, I guess I should have talked about it, is that it's a sense of kind of like a giant, like in a giant production line. It's almost like a sense of agency. I know where my photos are coming from. So this flower, I know how the photos are made from this like dark room, and then I know how I could like print on. So that's something I should have talked about. Thanks for it. So yeah.
You use color, you color and black and white? You develop it?
I generally just stick with black and white.
Yeah.
I like the idea of having contrast. I don't want to say it's king, but for me it's very nice way of seeing the world in a simpler way. As in like, for me color is almost like just another step to like seeing what something is. So, I mean, it kind of speaks loud with my flowers is that it doesn't matter what color they are, but they all look distinct. So, which is why I focus on black and white. Good question.
I'll talk to you more about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it, of course. Any questions? Any questions? Come on. I need something.
What was your favorite place to go when you traveled? Around?
City-wise, San Francisco or Bay Area and Seattle, they're like competing for number one. Park-wise, I mean, Crater Lake. I can't say anything other than that. I mean, Joshua Tree also makes it to the list for me. Monument Valley and like northern Arizona, like all the red rocks. So, it's a great question. I'm trying to encourage people to ask questions. Yes?
So I know you do gardening. Have you ever taken a picture or done anything like with the stuff you've gardened?
That's one of my next plans. The sunflowers have been, that I gave my friend, I kept some seeds for myself and I grew some sunflowers and I'm hoping to do what they call cyanotype, which is iron. I'll show it to the Facebook people. It's basically iron salts printing. And it's very simple, like you put this stuff and then you put the flowers, you expose it, and it's ready, you wash it. And I'm thinking doing the same with sunflowers first. Mostly dried sunflowers because it's not seasoned anymore, that's the only thing I got left. So, but yes, I'd like to grow my own things. And yes, I do have a garden because it's fun. Watching something germinate and like become something edible, yum, free food. I mean, technically not free because you use money. So, good question. Any more questions? I guess. Oh yes, Noah. Two questions.
The first one, do you think you'll ever want to write an autobiography about all of what you just told us?
Do you mind saying that?
Autobiography, perhaps?
Autobiography?
You think you want to learn?
It wouldn't be about me. That's the weird thing. It's gonna be an autobiography of the things. Yeah, I've been thinking about a book, but more about photography and other things. But I might. I mean, that's a good thing because I've thought about. Hey, camera. Oh, Facebook people don't see me. I think I would write a autobiography, but it's not gonna be about myself. It's gonna be about the. I'm just trying to say I'm gonna write an autobiography, but not try to write an autobiography. But the answer is yes. The second question.
When are you going to do your next country tour, I guess?
Oh, my next country tour. I'm actually planning to drive all the way to Alaska at some point. Orphanage, so I don't know how. It's not gonna be in the winter. Just to be on the safe side, because Well, I've heard that there are roads kind of form when ice happens or something. I was on a side of a U-Haul. I don't know how true are those, so who knows? I'd like to travel to somewhere cold, because I come from somewhere hot, so cold is nice for me. Good question. Any more questions? The drum has a question. Yes, drum. Would you like to ask us? Oh, you'd like to be played. Would either of you guys help me out? Okay. We're gonna play a song called The Guy Die. I sound like one of my friends. It's called Ballad Drum, so.
We don't know how it sounds.
Oh, I have no idea actually, so.
Yes.
We could try. Yeah. Shalina, you're up. We're gonna play A Guy Die. Did you actually play that song?
Yes,
Okay. We're actually gonna play a song. I'm gonna turn off audio, so. All right.
Song in G.
Yes. We're gonna play, I swear. Can everyone see?
Yep.
Can everyone hear?
Yep.
We're gonna start with G. We're gonna start with
It's a straight.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We can hear you.
Thanks for coming. I don't think we have. Well, we could have more questions. Want to hang around? No question, more questions. Thanks for coming. Get some food. There's more food left. Yum yum.